Hello guys, so I really need some help. What I need is to figure out what should I do for um like my fantasy novel series. I'm just really unsure because I have like three really good ideas. Um Good idea number 1, the coming of age story. So what happens in the coming of age story is in the universe that I've kind of already established with you guys in earlier videos, um, a young elf boy is turned 15 and he needs, so he is, been turned out, I guess it would be the phrase, of the house. It's like he's been sent away from his house because he's 15. He's come of age. He needs to go make a life for himself. That's like the tradition in the village where he lives is to kick you out when you turn 15. Or maybe it's just kind of an elf tradition. I have no idea. Um. Anyway. And so the only people who are hiring is an expedition into the Sea of Sand, which is the largest desert in the world at the point in this story's history, and no one's ever traveled more than like 3 days deep into it. So like, imagine one single desert with the equivalent volume of all the deserts that exist on Earth combined. Um, that is like the size of the Great Sea of Sand in my fantasy novel. Um, anyway, um, so he signs up for this expedition, but after a couple weeks of things going well, a terrible thing happens. Is there's a giant sandstorm, and everyone is separated, and for all he knows, he's the only one who's still alive and is wandering through the desert with nothing, and he's just thirsting to death, and he collapses and discovers he was rescued by a girl. He discovers he was rescued by a girl who is native to the desert because inside of the desert, completely unbeknownst to the entire outside world, is the race of snake people. And the god who created the snake people. Because remember, in my fantasy novel, each of the races was created by sort of like a patron god. Um, so like the god of the desert created snake people. Um, yeah. Anyway, um, that's kind of all that I've worked out for that book. Option number 2, um, is um, Galen, the Duker that's like a mayor essentially, you know, um, of this town, is like the town is going to be attacked, so he has to go visit some allies of the country where he lives because there's this whole big war, and he has to go arrange to have more soldiers and oil and things. And I just haven't developed it very much at all, but I have the most written down for it. Even though I don't actually have much of an outline written down for it, I just have like the first 3 or 4 paragraphs of a chapter written down. So I guess I have like a short story written down, I guess. Um, and then option number 3 is the one where this guy who is been out of his parents' house for a couple weeks is he's just really poor. He owns like a tiny bit of land with like a little shack in the woods, and he's just poor. then his friend, who is the mayor of the town where he lives, is like, "Hey, bro, I can arrange for you to get a job. It's escorting this ambassador person to go and arrange stuff to try and stop this war between these two countries." And it sort of ties into option number two. They're like in the same time and place, and but whereas I have like almost a whole outline written down for option number one, even though I only came up with it like 3 days ago, I have almost no outline at all written down for the other two options. So